You need to commit to letting yourself be bad. Make terrible stuff. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to an all new episode of Mentor Mondays. If you don't know, my name is TAETRO and I'm your electronic music mentor. And the purpose of this segment is to talk about the less technical aspects of being a music producer or an electronic musician and talk more about the philosophical side of things that can keep you growing no matter where you are as an artist. And if you do enjoy live electronic music performances, tutorials, and content that will keep you growing as an electronic musician or producer, click the subscribe button down below. But for now, let's get into Mentor Mondays. All right, on today's episode of Mentor Mondays, I really want to talk about how you need to make bad music if you want to be a good musician. And you have to be okay with making bad music. This is especially for beginners, especially for anybody who's trying a new genre of music that they've never produced before or made before. You need to commit to letting yourself be bad. Make terrible stuff. And I'll tell you why. When you first start out creating any type of art, you are not going to be nearly as great as the people you're aspiring to be. Most of the artists you are looking up to have spent years honing their craft and getting better. And that's also a process that never ends. They're continuing to get better. And this can feel really defeating when you first start to create music because you have all these aspirations of what kind of music you want to make. You have the blueprint there of everything you love listening to and everything you think you want to create, but it can be easy to defeat yourself once you hear your first couple final products. Or maybe you're having trouble even getting to a final product because it's just not living up to what you love to listen to. Your mixes aren't gonna sound as good, your songs are gonna be more boring, and you're gonna sound bad. And this is something we need to get over. I hear from too many people in my comment sections, in my DMs, of people that have not even started. And it's mostly because they have this high aspiration of what they want their music to sound like. And once they get into the process and it's not sounding like that, they immediately give up and they don't even have anything to show for their starting efforts. What most beginner producers and electronic musicians should do is set a ridiculously achievable goal. Now, this is not my original idea. I first heard this idea from somebody named Ron Hattern, who is an executive for the Northeast region of the Boys and Girls Clubs, and I work at one. He was giving a speech about setting ridiculously achievable goals, and he talked about wanting to exercise. It can be really daunting to think about exercise and getting in shape if you have this super aspirational goal of having the bodybuilder body type, right? Because it's gonna take so much time and work to get there that you might not even get out of bed in the morning to take that first step. So the first step in getting himself to exercise for Ron was to set the ridiculously achievable goal of just getting into workout clothes. So on the first day of his fitness journey, his only goal was to get into workout clothes. It's super ridiculous, it's super achievable, but it's easy. Now, by the time he got into his workout clothes and stood out on his front porch, he figured, well, I might as well go for a walk around the block. And right there is the reason that setting these ridiculously achievable goals is gonna push you forward. And if you relate this to being an electronic musician, if you're having trouble finishing pieces, set a ridiculously achievable goal of finishing a 30-second track, finishing a 1-minute track. And eventually you might find that you set out to do the 1-minute track and you ended up with something that was 3 minutes long. It doesn't matter if it doesn't match up to with what the industry standard is. You don't need to put out a track that's 3 minutes and 30 seconds or a 10-minute long techno jam for YouTube. You don't need to do that. You can put out whatever you're able to achieve in that moment. And if you start doing this, the more and more you'll grow. But you have to start taking the steps to move forward, and you have to be okay with being bad. The music you make today will not be as good as the music you make tomorrow, which will not be as good as the music you make 1 year from now. But if you don't start till a year from now, you're essentially going to be a year behind where you could have been. Personally, I've been using Ableton since I was about 15 years old, and I'm 26 now. So for over a decade, I've been using Ableton and making music. And there's a reason that you've only heard from me in the past 2 years. Because probably for the first 8 to 9 years of using Ableton, The music wasn't that great. It wasn't up to par. But I'm at a point now where I've put the work in and people are starting to notice my work. People are finding the channel, people are listening to my music. But that took so much time and there's so much behind the scenes that you all don't see. You all weren't there for the first 8 to 9 years of me using Ableton because it wouldn't have been interesting. It was mostly bad and I was trying to get better, but I was still doing it. So think about where you're at in your creative journey. I'm not saying it's gonna take 8 to 9 years for you to grow. I had a lot of competing priorities and that's okay, we all do, life happens. But you're gonna grow at your own pace, but you have to start that pace. You can't be paralyzed by the fear of not being good enough. So together, I hope we can commit to being bad so we can get better. All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Mentor Mondays. Let me know what you think about this philosophy in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you think. Are you starting? Are you committed to being bad? Let me know. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. My name is TAETRO, your electronic music mentor. Have a good one.